our lecturers from 3 different universities who have taken the time to be here today. As you know, this is the 10th year of the Translation Challenge. And as you know, we meant to do this a little bit on the earlier side, actually in February, but due to disastrous earthquakes happening in Turkey, we decided to postpone it. It only felt right to postpone it for a while because, as you know, we have 3 participating universities from Turkey, and even if many people have not been directly affected, most of us have been indirectly affected very much, and a lot of people have lost ones and family members. So first of all, I hope all of my contacts, all of my participants from Turkey here today are doing well and all right and happy. And thank you for your patience, basically. Today, we unfortunately don't have our 4th university with us, which was the latest participant in the Translation Challenge saga, let's say. It was the Ağrı İbrahim Çeçen University. It's a smaller university in the east of Turkey. They were the latest participants to our challenge, but unfortunately, they won't be joining us today because since they were closer to the disaster zone, a lot of students and unfortunately a lot of professors as well have experienced some losses and huge trauma. So they still require some time to heal from that. And we are looking forward to making a event for them as well in the upcoming months. So today we have 3 universities, University of Essex from the UK, and Ege University and 9 Eylül University from Turkey. Levent, are you technically okay right now? I'm not sure if they hear me.
Well, we will be available in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Sıla, is it better if you want to take the next speaker so that we don't keep waiting?
Yeah, I would love to do that. And in the meantime, I think I can shortly summarize this whole process that we've been through this past month. So we started in January. Our 10th challenge started in January, and the students were given their projects, their texts. It was around 1,000 words. It was a bit of a difficult text this time because our sponsor this year was a producer of 10 dishes. It's like they do like, so it's a very technical product, and our students were given around 2 weeks time to translate that. And finally, they have sent us their translations, and their translations were evaluated blindly without the names of the students. And finally, we have collectively, thanks to our lecturers, and their helps, came to a decision as to who are the winners. And by the end of today, we will be announcing them. But in the meantime, we have a couple of wonderful speakers today with us. And I would like to give the floor to first of them, who will be Cecilia Maldonado. Thank you for being here today, Cecilia. Cecilia is in the localization industry for over 20 years now, I believe. She's the past president of Women in Localization. She's the co-founder of First Language Institution in Argentina, I believe. And she has amazing experiences to share with us. So I'm going to leave you the floor, Cecilia.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Welcome, everyone. I am very honored to be here speaking to you. Having been a student myself, I wish I had the opportunity that you have today to be listening from experts and listening to the stories and the experiences to make it smoother in the start of your careers. So today, the idea is to talk a little bit about some digital presence and personal branding, which is a topic I really, really like. And hopefully you'll take something out of it. I'm going to try to be very brief and share some slides so that you can look at it. Can I share now, or do you want to share, Sila? What do you think? Do I share?
Please feel free to share. Yeah.
Okay, let me find here. Can you see here? Yep.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So I am going to be talking about personal branding and how to build your personal brand to boost your career. So this is me. Basically, that's my presence on LinkedIn. And I'm going to show you that this is my presence basically in every single social media channel. And it's very important that you pay attention to this and then compare moving when I'm going to show you when I compare with the other profiles. So basically today, LinkedIn is like our online CV. So it's important that you keep it updated. It's not uncommon to see people who move from different companies around different companies and their profile is never kept up to date. And I believe this is very important because this is part of your personal brand. So we're going to start with some misconceptions and you can read them. It's very, very common to have people think that personal branding is only about being famous or about bragging. It's very common to think that the more posts, the better, or the more contacts. People just have an anxiety to add connections to their profiles without really knowing who they are or if they will be able to even build a relationship with those people. Independent professionals are not a brand in the marketplace. Only extroverts can be successful at personal branding. And once I have it all set up, there's nothing else for me to do. So of course, this is all very wrong. Our personal brand is our identity. It is built around what we are. It responds to who we are, what we offer, why people should work with you, our reputation, the differentiation, our value proposition. So basically, this is the long-lasting image that we have, that people have of us. We all have a personal brand, whether we like it or not, whether we manage it or not. Personal branding is the actions that help us create and manage that personal brand. So that perception that people have of us, it's very intentional. So you can manage your personal brand. This is a strategy based on personal objectives, and it is the result of constant and very personal work. So how do you do this? How do you start? So basically, you have to start with number one, identifying your personal objectives. What is it that you want? How do you want to be known? What's your objective? Do you want to change jobs? Do you want the visibility? Do you want to be considered an expert? So first of all, you define what you want with this digital presence. It's all about the authenticity. Then you're going to measure your current personal brand. You need to understand what your online reputation is so that you can manage that reputation. So you make those adjustments based on those personal objectives that you chose at the beginning. You identify the desired personal brand so that you can make those adjustments. What inspires you? How do you want to be perceived in so many years? How do you want people to remember you? Then you will define your strategy intentionally. It's a very intentional exercise. So with the objective to differentiate yourself from the competition and generate the relationships that you want, you will work on that strategy. And the final step is to choose the media and the content. So your logo, your image, the picture, your value proposition, how you will communicate. And this has to be consistent all across different channels, even your email. So having the same picture or signature everywhere is the consistency that we're talking about. The website, the CV, the business cards, and you will be defining the media that you want to choose to share who you are. If you choose many different channels, then it's more difficult to keep them all updated. So it's usually better to start with one. And then as you feel more comfortable, especially if they're public profiles, it's easier to keep it updated. And especially if part of your strategy is job related. If it's a personal thing, then I'm going to show you how to do it. Part of understanding who you are and how you want to be perceived, and this is a suggestion that I'm going to share with you, it's about knowing who you are. And for that, there are many, many tests or consultants out there that work with you to understand what is it that you're known for? What are your best traits? What's your personality like? Because it's very difficult to, not everybody is or has it easy, right? When sharing on social media. So it's important that you know who you are, what's the type of personality. There's a lot of indexes out there and tests. I do them all the time because I'm interested. It's funny to see how you change over the years too. There's always a very main characteristic, a feature about you that does not change. But then over the years, it's funny to see how some of these things change. And this gives you also words to describe yourself on social media, on your profiles. So it's a strategy. It's part of that strategy. So what are the benefits of knowing who you are? And this is another exercise that I suggest you do. So understanding what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats are. It improves your image and reputation. It helps you stand out from the competition by really knowing who you are. It improves your business relationships. You attract who you want. It increases the chances, of course, of landing your dream job. It provides the coherence between what you are and what you say. This is important for authenticity, for credibility, and for trust. It helps identify your unique value proposition. It helps establish an emotional connection with your target audience. It's your elevator pitch. It's your personal story. It is that digital presence so important today, and it's part of the networking strategy. It is helpful for your networking strategy. When we talk about the media and the channels that we want to use to show who we are or to deploy our strategy, there are different channels. So you can choose whatever you want best. There's no TikTok here because I'm not a TikToker. So, but you can do that as well. That shows my age. Professionally speaking, I prefer LinkedIn. There's two quotes here that I liked. You have 3 seconds to make an impression. And if you're invested in your brand, then people will know that you're invested in their brand as well. So for me, the media that I choose for professional, for telling my professional story is LinkedIn. That's my preferred one. Of course, the events for networking is important. And also the business profiles in industry associations. I cannot stress this enough every time I talk to students or to people wanting to start out in their careers. Belonging to industry associations, being actively engaged, and having your profiles on these associations updated is important for your visibility, for your credibility. Oh, I misspelled Gala there. So there's an A missing. So this is Translator Argentina, ATA, ALC, Gala, ProZ, and so many others. So this is my profile on LinkedIn, a little bit outdated because I'm no longer the president of Women in Localization, but you can see that it's consistent. I'm going to show you all the images that I have. The reason why I wanted to show you this is because the volunteering section is up to date. And if you go to my profile, is up to date. So this is an older screenshot. the recommendations are important for you to show who you are and to build that credibility. This is my Facebook page. You see it's exactly the same. I have the same image. I have the volunteer positions there, who I am, the same profile picture. Even though I like another profile picture better, I don't care. It's part of that coherence that I'm trying to show everyone. This is other media, so Twitter and my signature there, my email signature, my website, Women in Localization board website. So the image is always the same. It's very, very consistent across the different channels. And these are other, this is Facebook, for example. And the purpose of this is to show you that you could create lists, and every media provides the possibility for you to create lists or to give access, make it public or not. So the picture with my friends, my business connections don't see. But and you can see there that it says only my friends, anyone tagged, or friends of, but except the fans, acquaintances, and business people. So creating lists or being very careful of what you want to show is important in this creation of your digital presence. How much is too much? So sometimes it's important to remember, it's always important to remember that people are watching, people are reading, people are looking at you. So you have to be careful about what you share, what you say, because that can ruin that effort that you are constantly creating for your brand, for your personal brand, right? So talking about your boss on Twitter, it's not good, or sharing or showing how political you are is not great, or, you know, stuff in the bathroom is definitely a no-no. What's the investment? And in all of this, of course, as with everything, there's always investment in everything that you do, but it's basically time and knowledge. So you need to define the audience that you want to target. You need to keep them engaged in the channels that you choose. So that's why I said maybe start with one and not with every single channel out there for the business strategy that you have. Read and find information to share. Don't just share without reading what you're sharing. You can get into trouble. Many times you don't really know what's happening. It has happened to me to just like comment that it was controversial, or without really reading, because I like the person maybe. So you need to take the time to read and make sure that what you're sharing or what you're liking or what you're commenting is what you really want. To respond to messages, whether they're good or bad, and to participate in relevant groups, comment and engage. In terms of knowledge, maybe write posts about the topics that interest your target audience. This takes time because you need to read. Many times you don't really feel that knowledgeable in order to be able to share something, but you are. There's always something interesting to share. And as long as it's from a very true perspective, very intimate perspective, there's always, it's always interesting. And never forget the 80-20 rule. So 80% is information that is interesting to your audience, and 20% is information about us and our achievements. This helps keep a balance. So networking is also part of your presence. So going to events, being actively engaged, socializing. And this is the other profile that I wanted you to compare with. This is one of my business partners. This is, of course, before I told her to change her digital presence. But you can see it's all over the place, right? There's different profile pictures, the one that she likes better. And the one website, she has another picture. The brand is kind of confusing, right? Not the same as to see it all consistent and coherent, right? So to summarize, and I'm sorry I'm rushing, but I know I only have 10 minutes and I don't even know how far I've gotten, but you got this. So these are the rules that you need to remember. You need to know yourself, identify your personal objectives, identify the desired personal brand, create your personal branding strategy, measure and modify. It's important that you know that sometimes you decide for something and it's not really working in the direction that you want it to work, so you need to change it. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Monitor your online reputation, monitor your presence, see what people say, see what, I don't know, what's being said about you, how you're being, perceived, and make the adjustments. Be prepared, always have your CV ready. LinkedIn is your CV, online CV. So have it updated. It only takes a few minutes. Get out of your comfort zone, present, write blog posts, talk in events like this, participate actively in any roundtable or event that you go to, ask questions, network, get out of your comfort zone. And personal branding is today considered a critical skill for professional development. So do not think that this is only for a few. Everybody needs to manage their digital presence, whether you like it or not. We all have a personal brand. Remember that. Whether you like it or not, whether we manage it or not, we all have one. So get on it, work on it. It's a critical skill for your career. So thank you very much, and I'll be open for questions whenever the organizers decide it.
Yeah, I believe we can take any questions. If there are any, please feel free to write in the chat or just jump in the conversation. Thank you so much, Cecilia. It's been a wonderful presentation, really, because we see that even if you are the best at something, if you don't have personal branding, if you don't have the right strategy in your hands, if you do not present yourself the best way you possibly can, it can definitely fall short. And there are several nuances to that, and especially the social media part, because we are in such a digital world right now. And it's, I think, naive at this point to think that our social presence doesn't really, the digital presence doesn't really matter. So thank you for that. I found it really enlightening.
Thank
for
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, I believe Levent and the students of University of Essex are back online. Levent, you are muted, I believe. If you are speaking, we cannot hear. It seems like you're on. Oh, okay. You're back on.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, guys, for your patience. Now, you may be wondering why this has happened. Actually, this was a setup. Me and Ignacia, we said, what will happen if the main computer doesn't work? Are we going to be able to overcome that? And so this was like a little test. No, I'm just making this up, sorry. Well, thank you very much for your patience. And thank you, Cecilia, very wise words. And I know we've got Pia and Marina waiting to speak, and these are excellent line of speakers. Now, what I'd like to say is, this is the 10th year of the Translation Challenge competition, something that me and Ignacia never thought that it would actually come to this level, but it has, because for one purpose it's doing is fitting into the requirement of the translators or prospective translators trying to get into the industry. So this is so valuable. And every year there's something new happening. This year we have the artificial intelligence. You guys know about ChatGPT, Midjourney. There's numerous artificial intelligence tools available to us. Now, somebody said to me, a very good friend of mine, who's very IT savvy, he said, Levent, are you not worried that ChatGPT is now on, and are you worried about your business? I said to him, look, I'm not worried about it as long as I keep in touch with the progress. And my question is, how do we use ChatGPT for our purpose? And there are so many ways. And it's not only ChatGPT. There's so many tools that we need to use. And 20 years ago, these tools, create one of them would have taken millions of pounds or dollars and awful lot of time to develop them. But now these tools are available to us for, most of them are free, and some of them are like 10, 15 pounds a month. These tools are available to us. So making use of these tools are so important. And for students that are starting their journey, hopefully in the translation, localization industry, to be aware of these are so important, because we want to know how we can put these into good use. You guys are familiar with femtech? Has anyone heard of the term coined femtech? I admit, I discovered it this morning, reading a blog article. I was thinking, what do I say to inspiring students who are graduating, who took part? So what do I say to them? And reading this blog, femtech, coined in 2016, is essentially products for the well-being of women. Well-being and everything to do with women. Female, so femme comes from female. So there are certain taboos, like periods and getting pregnant. So there's an app that women can actually use to control their, or to find out about their period. How will it happen? When will it happen? There's an app to be used for getting pregnancy or certain periods and cycles. Please excuse me. I have 2 children and 1 grandchild. I still don't know the science behind this, but there are apps, and all these required from our point of view is the curiosity and the mindset of what is being available. If one of these femtech products to be localized into other languages, who would be the best person they would go to? They will go to female translators. And for female translators to put themselves forward for this purpose, they need to be aware of this. So what I'm trying to say is, we can't wait for our customers to approach us. We have to be proactive in approaching them and saying, dear client, I mean, we've got some customers like Uber, they are fully in cycle of localization. You'll hear shortly from our excellent line of speaker. But for others, we need to put ourselves forward and saying that, dear prospective customer, have you considered taking this into other languages? We can help you, I can help you. So that's pretty much it. And that's the line of mindset we are trying to develop in our company. And I very much encourage you to be curious, trying to learn and see what's available. So thank you very much, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Levent. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier with Levent, and it's the mindset is what lays behind, really, regardless of the industry, the sector, or whatever you are going to do with your careers, either going freelance or joining a company or taking a completely different path. Maybe it's, I think, all about the mindset behind it. And without further ado, I know that we have speakers waiting in line and also students waiting to hear who is the winner. So I'm gonna leave the floor to our next speaker, Marina Grayson Farrell. Marina is a very innovative localization professional. She is the founder of the Localization Advocate, and she has been currently providing consulting to localization professionals. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more. And thank you for being here, Marina. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and all the remarks so far have been awesome. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the students, to the winner, but also those of you who have just got up and competed. It's been a tough time. We first talked about this, Celia, for beginning this presentation. This terrible tragedy happened. It's been an astounding feat to actually just be here. And it's beautiful to see the presentation you have over there, Levant. I saw the presentation last year, or the video of it, and you've come a long way. This is a wonderful event. So what I want to talk about is touching on a few of the things that both of the first two presenters, well, Cecilia presenting and Levant's remarks. I like to think of students getting out there with three things in mind. Make it very simple. That's to be flexible and curious, to be resilient, which you already are, and be yourself. And what's really interesting, just drawing on what Cecilia was talking about, your personal brand, absolutely. Being yourself as you're learning and you're trying out new things, you always come back to what you really are. It's interesting, I'm an ENFP, so I'm very, feeling and percepting and just always enthusiastic and going out there. The traditional translator is actually more introverted perhaps, and thinking about things and considering words, terminologies. And when you take all of these aspects of yourself, you're trying out new things. And it's very daunting when you think about the new technologies out there. When I started, I actually have been a localization professional. I worked for years before I got involved in languages. I was in design. I was a graphic designer. I got into desktop publishing. And my first localization project was at a publishing company, and we had a technology that was similar to InDesign, the tool that we use for desktop publishing today. And back in those days, we had many languages and putting in new types of printing technologies. And what I found in those days was to be resilient, to be flexible, and to be myself, because I realized I could get into localization in many different ways. You'll see today it's opening up even more. They call this the fourth industrial revolution when you think about it. The emerging technologies, there's AI, there's Web3, all of these new things, blockchain, all of these augmented reality type of new technologies. And what I like to think about is that whatever we've started with in the traditional translation services and the traditional ways of translating is actually growing and picking up more energy. And I think the more you inform yourself, the more you learn, just like Levant said, the more you can be prepared and you can adapt. I've been working with Loc Tools providers to do presentations to our group. We have a community called the Loc Tools Study Group. And it's been interesting to see, like Trados is the traditional CAT tool. And now we see emerging technologies where CAT tools now have AI added. And I've seen demonstrations and I've used them myself where you can bring up your machine translation, you can bring up translation memory, and now you can bring up AI. And the thing to remember with that is you have the ability to choose. You can look to see what AI suggests in this CAT tool, and you can either accept it, or if you don't like that phrasing, you can reject it. You can override. You still have humanity in that process. So as you go through your career, you can see you have choices, you have influence, you can actually influence. And I think that's going to be one of the most important aspects as AI products are developed. They still need to be trained. They need to be guided in a way. And so being flexible, being resilient, and being yourself. And as Cecilia said, perfecting yourself, networking, women in localization is just one aspect of networking. We have Loc Lunch. In fact, Loc Lunch in San Diego is where I saw Cecilia. She came for the gala, really big event. And as you explore the world, if you get the opportunity to do so, you can definitely enhance your career. And I've always seen translators side by side with localization professionals. I presented to a student group in the Caucasus Mountains a couple of years ago, and I presented to a student group in Spain last year. And I always wanted to talk about the exciting but flexibility of careers and how a translator can start in translation, can go into QA testing, can touch on UX, so many aspects that make your career interesting and fit who you are. Again, all of those aspects where you learn about the world, you learn about what you really want to do, and seeing it as an adventure and not so much as something that's scary. Everything we do with learning and adapting, and I think you can have an influence on all of those aspects. I think that's what I wanted to say about all of those things. And I think if you stay in alignment and choose the tools, find out what you can, I think you can have a lot of enjoyable moments in your career. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marina. And as always, if you have any questions, any comments, anything whatsoever, feel free to jump in the chat box and let us know, and let Marina, Cecilia, and all our speakers know. And what you said about choosing resonates very well with me, actually, because we all of us, we do have several options. But for example, when I was a student, I assumed that the path for me was narrower than it actually is. And today I'm looking at this Zoom call, really, and I see all our speakers who are very esteemed names from the localization industry, but all of them are doing something different within that industry. And this shows me how varied and how colorful localization and globalization can be, how many opportunities the translation world actually offers to all of us. So thank you for that. And as we were talking about being on a different part of localization industry, our next speaker will be Aşkın Samuray Bayraktaroğlu. Aşkın is a highly experienced translator, freelance translator. We've been actually in TTC, we've been collaborating with him for several years now. And he is one of the really the best human beings / translators I had the chance to collaborate with. And he is one of the greatest professionals I've seen. So I believe most of our students will be enjoying hearing his experiences as well. So Aşkın, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sıla. First of all, can everyone hear me, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And second, please excuse me if I make any grammatical errors while I speak. Actually, I will read a speech I have prepared because as most of you translators, text translators, industrial translators know, I seldom speak. I seldom have to speak within the day. Not only Turkish, but also English. I really seldom speak. I have to speak very seldomly. So please excuse me if I make any errors. So let me read my speech. First of all, I would like to thank TTCV Translate team for their trust in me, and especially for giving me this very privileged opportunity to share my thoughts. I graduated from Bilkent University, Department of Translation and Interpretation in 2002. I'm 44 years old and have been working as a freelance translator for about 15 years. Today, I would like to talk about what I see when I look at the world in general as a relatively experienced linguist. In my speech at this organization last year, I had talked about the concept of commitment. Back in that speech, I had said that it is not enough to be committed only to your profession, to your customers, to your loved ones, or to the promises you make. But first and foremost, you must be committed to yourself, or as Cecilia has said, to your own brand. The reason why I centered my speech around commitment back then was the growing criticism aimed at the younger generations around the world, especially Generation Z. You are that one. Many people argue that young people were aimless and frivolous. They said that they lacked commitment and professionalism. Knowing the youth of my very own generation very well, I strongly disagreed with these criticisms. Instead, in the light of emerging new technologies, developments in the global economy, and also important global events such as pandemics and lockdowns, I thought that the concept of professionalism needed a new definition. This new definition should have to be in line with the desires and expectations of this new generation, and it should have to be centered around a self-commitment that draws its strength from individual flexibilities and resilience, just like Marina has said. In brief, I had argued that it is this commitment that leads to happiness and success, whether in business life or in private life. And I had advised my young colleagues to be determined in whatever they do and whatever path they choose, to never give up, taking firm steps to create their ideal future, their ideal self, both materially and spiritually. Putting all that aside, I must confess that what shaped my speech in those days was the hopeful mood in the world, which was trying to recover from the global COVID lockdowns, the Brexit, and Donald Trump. But today, we are facing completely different challenges, such as earthquakes that have shattered our hearts and minds, and also Russia's invasion of Ukraine. On top of that, with the rise of artificial intelligence and translation engines, I see many young translators are asking questions such as, will we lose our profession? Like Levent Bey has just said. Therefore, in my speech last year, this year, I would like to talk not about commitment, but about hope this time. Johan Cruyff, the legendary Dutch footballer and manager, once said, "Football is a simple game. The difficult thing is to play it simple." It is possible to apply this saying to every aspect of life. As a matter of fact, hope is also a very simple feeling. What is difficult is to keep that hope alive despite everything. I was born in 1978 in an environment where bloody left and right conflicts were raging on the streets. I survived the bomb attack in Bahariye and an armed clash in Maltepe with my family before I was 2 years old. When I was 4 years old, Turkey was being crushed under the iron fist of the military, and legendary artists like Cem Karaca were living in exile. I was 8 years old when Chernobyl disaster happened, and I vividly remember my mother's friends crying, "We will all burn to death." In the years that followed, I witnessed the collapse of the Soviet Union and the great wave of migration from the former Soviet countries. With horror and anger, I watched the Madımak massacre and how journalists and intellectuals such as Uğur Mumcu Necip Halebitoğlu, Ahmet Taner Kışlalı, and Metin Göktepe were killed. On 17 August 1999, I felt the pain and helplessness of millions of people on my shoulders. And since then, earthquakes, terrorist attacks, radical threats, the shadowy activities of the deep state or the invisible government, workplace homicides or corporate murders, and economic crisis have always been part of our lives. In brief, I can assure you that every generation encounters countless events that drive it to despair. And no matter what the circumstances are, I can tell you that only those who do not lose their hope, those who somehow dare to keep on going, do survive. I know most of you expect me to say something about translation job, but I don't believe that it is this or that profession that will carry you into the future. It is your sense of hope that will carry you into the future, and that will enable you to build your future as you idealize it. And you have to formulate your hope. For example, do you think translation engines and artificial intelligence will take your job away from you? Focus on post-editing jobs and your ability to write creative texts. Are you worried about the national economy? Prepare a strong CV, search for reliable clients on sites like Pros, and send your CV to clients all over the world. And never hesitate to provide free test translations. Are you generally worried about the situation in the country? Above all, never forget that you are a global citizen. And just like a turtle carries its home on its back, you can carry your profession everywhere you go. Moreover, whatever your certificate or diploma says, keep in mind that your main profession is basically communication. What makes a translator does not consist of transferring words or sentences from X language to language Y. We are not porters of words. We are exporters and importers of meaning. Above all, whatever your IQ, intelligent quality is, always invest in your EQ, your emotional quality, because artificial intelligence can fill the gaps that challenge your intellectual capacity, but Instagram and TikTok cannot fill your emotional gaps. On the contrary, in some cases, they can even deepen them. Never underestimate the sacrifices you make for momentary emotional gratifications. Don't stop caring about what you eat and drink, your sleep patterns, your self-esteem, your sense of justice, and your conscience. Don't stop and think of yourself as do not think of yourself as a desk jockey, but as a marathoner of hope who has to sit at a desk only part of the day. As Albert Einstein once said, learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. I have tried to live according to this simple principle, especially in the last 10 years of my life. And my only regret today is that I did not start doing this earlier. I know very well that it is difficult to listen to these advices at this young age, but I hope I can help a few of you start earlier than I did. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you so much, Ashkan. And about what you said, the hope, it's such an easy thing to lose, and it's so easy to fall into despair, especially when here in Turkey right now we are facing a lot of horrible situations, but also all around the world it's a non-stop thing always going on. There's always something to shatter our spirits. So it's so important to step out once in a while and look at the bigger picture and hold on to our hope. So thank you so much for reminding that. I think we all kind of needed that.
Thank you.
So I know that we are running a little bit out of time, and students are very excited to here who are the winning teams. So I'm going to be leaving the floor to our last speaker, Pia Bresnan. Pia, thank you for being here. Pia is the Senior Localization Manager at Uber, and she is joining today from the USA. And I know that it's very early there, and you, alongside with Marina, woke up really early to be here today. So thank you for your patience and thank you for being here. The floor is yours, Pia.
Thank you, Sila. And thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful to be here at this 10th year anniversary celebration of the Translation Challenge. Congratulations to everyone, not just the winners, but also wanted to mention, in light of the recent tragedy, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone who has been affected. I know it's been a very difficult situation. I will keep it short because I'd like to get you guys back on track, but wow, what a lineup of speakers. And I've learned so much in just such a short time that I've been attending here at this conference, but very grateful to be able to listen here. Before I go into a diatribe about how successful you can be as a translator, I wanted to share a little bit about me. Localization is my second career. I've been in the field 15 years. It seems like those who have been in this career for longer, I'm very young, but I didn't know that there was such a thing as localization. So I'm very proud to be able to impart some of my insights to you as you get started. I've covered all facets of localization. My background, I consider myself a global citizen. Like Ashkin mentions, I was born in the US, but I moved to Europe, grew up in Spain, the UK, France, and Germany. And I did a humble pivot. I was in telecom first, and I decided I want to do something with my languages. So I applied to a project manager job at a single language vendor. And I started working there directly with linguists, providing English to French localization services to all of the major LSPs. And so it was a very interesting time where I learned a lot about Trados and Pro-Z and sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, trying to spit out in another language what was being shoved to them in English. So it was very interesting perspective. And then I moved to the MLV, the LSP itself. This one was Moravia, now it's been acquired by RWS. And then after a few years, I pivoted again and went into work for what they call the client side at Uber. So I've been here for 4.5 years. I lead the team of program management here at Uber, and they work with all types of stakeholders, product support, marketing, legal. We have a centralized localization pipeline, and the work we do here is equally with vendors and some translators as well. So this to show you that there is no need to be stuck in one little translation hole. You can evolve, as Ashkin mentioned and Marina mentioned, into all the facets of localization. And it's a very wide and varied industry. And so there is no such thing as being stuck. I am thrilled to be here with you today and have the opportunity to address and congratulate you, but my focus is to celebrate the immense potential you have as a future translator and potential to make a difference in the world, just like Ashkin mentioned. You all know this, but to reiterate the obvious, translation is not just about transferring words from one language to another. It's about understanding the nuances of the language, the cultural context in which it's used, the impact it can have on people. It's about breaking down barriers and building the bridges between cultures. And ultimately, it's about creating a more connected and empathetic world. You're going to start on your translation journey, and I want to encourage you, just like the 3 previous speakers here, to approach your work with passion, with dedication, and a deep commitment to understanding of the languages and the cultures you're working with. It's not an easy task, translation. It requires a great deal of patience, attention to detail, cultural sensitivity, but it's also very rewarding. And you can have a great impact on the world through the work that you're working with. I mean, when I was working with the SLV, I saw all of these translating sitting at their desk, banging away at the computers 8 hours a day. And I thought I could never do this. Indeed, I moved away from the translation side into the project management side. But this is a testament to your passion and willingness to continually learn and grow that sets you apart. Translation, like Levin said, is constantly evolving field. The best translators are those who stay up to date with the latest trends and innovations and who are always striving to improve their skills. So I urge you to take advantage of every opportunity to learn, whether it's through attending conferences or workshops or reading industry publications, also seeking out mentors. Ashken has a lot of experience here who can help you guide in your path. Now, Levin mentioned ChatGPT. I also wanted to address this because it is getting a lot of buzz and discussion. The Bay Area is fraught with these discussions and sometimes it's arguments as to whether it will be the next disruptive innovation in industry, in translation. And even here at Uber, in true Uber fashion, we are rushing into building applications for it, not just for translation, but for operations and productivity. But you may feel threatened by this and other language models like it, like Levin says, but I encourage you not to view these technologies as a threat, but rather as an opportunity. When I started at E2F, I didn't know anything about localization. I took a localization course at the time in the Localization Institute. And I remember I was with a linguist that told me that tools like Trados back in the day and Memsource, machine translation was going to make her job obsolete. It's been 15 years. All translators and linguists and localization is still here. She was convinced it was going to be the end of the translator, but here you all are. 3 schools full of students. So definitely it's not the end of the translator. Not only is it not the end, but it's a way to help make your content better, more readable, more pleasant, really breaking down those cultural barriers, as Ashken was saying before. The truth is, computer-assisted tools and machine translation can never fully replace the human translator. AI can certainly be useful in context. It cannot replicate exactly the nuanced understanding of the language and culture that human translators bring to the work. As a professional, you're uniquely positioned to provide this value that machines simply cannot match. And we will always need humans in the loop, always. Who's going to be training these engines? Who's going to be making this content better? It's going to be you. So to all of the translation students out there who might feel threatened by ChatGPT and other language models, I encourage you to embrace the technology as part of a toolkit. See them as an opportunity to enhance quality and efficiency of your work. By combining the strength of the AI with your own unique skills and expertise, you can create translations that are truly outstanding and make a real difference in the world. You know, one thing that we hear a lot here at Uber, oh, this sounded so like it was machine translated. It was so literal. It had no emotion whatsoever. That comes from translations that have been done from one language into a million language or 55 languages that we support here by translators. So if this still continues to be true, that the translations are still literal, these tools are going to be able to help you the output that you're going to then serve either your LSP or your client. These are tools. An important thing, quality also, I wanted to sort of mention that as a translator that Marina mentioned also, and Ashken is mentioning, is resilience. There will be times when you encounter difficult text, challenging clients, tight deadlines. Those are always going to be a reality. But it's in these moments that your ability to persevere and push through these obstacles will be most important. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Remember, mistakes are okay and setbacks are all part of the learning process. So I don't want to go on too long. I was hoping to give you a perspective on someone who's been at the linguist, next to a linguist working on a text, and now at Uber, who was ingesting those translations, to tell you that technology is only going to get better, but you will not be irrelevant. We will always be needing humans in the loop. But I also want to emphasize the impact that your work is going to have as a translator on the world. Your ability to facilitate communications and understanding between cultures is essential. And here, we rely not just on our linguists to provide translations in 55 plus languages, but we support people's livelihood as well. For example, when the US pulled out of Afghanistan, many came to the US as refugees, and Uber quickly localized all of the apps into Pashto and Dari to support anyone who was here and who was just starting and wanting to make a living. So for me, that is the impact that a linguist has. This wasn't machine translation, well, wasn't completely machine translation, but we had linguists who weren't really professional linguists. How many Pashto and Dari professional linguists do you know? But sometimes they were members of a community, and we helped them create this app in this language to support this community who was a stranger to the US, who didn't speak any English. So your work changes lives. Whether you're working on a business proposal, medical document software app, anything at all, you can make a real difference in people's life. So to close, to all of you Translation Challenge 2023 students, embrace this incredible opportunity you have to make in the world as translators. Approach your work with passion, dedication, commitment, and continual learning and growth. And remember that your skill as translators have the power to change the world. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Pia. And again, if you have any questions, comments, anything whatsoever, please feel free to jump into the conversation or leave a comment in the chat box. Everything is more than welcomed. And
I have a
yes,
question.
yes, Levent.
I have a question for you, Pia. Languages, we often as translators do not appreciate or understand our role. And your what you said there is kind of, it's very close to my heart, and it's very sort of strikes me to ask that question. Is if you were to, in thinking of Uber, if you were to take away the languages, how what sort of picture would you draw for Uber if there were no languages supported with localization?
When Uber started, it was a couple of Americans in Paris, and they were not able to hail a cab, whether it was because they didn't know how to do so in Paris, or there weren't any, we know a lot of the background of there. But the fact remains that Uber was created by a couple of Americans who were in a foreign country. Everyone assumes that the world should understand English. And we know that as a global commerce, the majority of the world does not speak English. So either way, Uber understood very early on that language needed to be part of their DNA. And it very immediately, as soon as they had a working model for the app, it was in a gazillion languages. And obviously you can't sustain that, also because you don't have a ton of users, for example, in some very obscure language. But I don't think there would have been an Uber without languages. And so we've embraced that. We are embracing our future. And we're also very thoughtful to all of the people who make Uber available in over 70, 80 countries.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this is something we occasionally speak with Levent to, like having a global mindset from day one. And we see that the most global companies today are really the ones that had that mindset in the very beginning, the first day. So it seems like Uber was one of them as well. So thank you so much, Pia. And also, as you said, it's so important to remember how important translators are today, because sometimes the world doesn't really understand the importance of translators. And so we kind of tend to put the same label on ourselves too. And we tend to undermine our own abilities and our own strengths just the same. So I think this is something every translator has to hear once in a while, how important they are and how much difference they make. So thank you so much for that. And we actually had a very nice video from Andy Anderson. He is the former localization manager of Tinder, but I know that we had a very packed lineup of speakers, and I see that students are also waiting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sharing the video with all of our participants after the meeting. It's a 10 minutes, very nice presentation, and he has a lot of nice experiences to share with you all. But for the time being, I will be leaving the floor slowly to our lecturers so that they can announce the winners. And I try to follow a chronological order. So since University of Essex is the first ever university who participated in the translation challenge with us, who was the first partner of this competition, we're going to be starting with the winners from University of Essex, which will be in several languages. So yes, I can see Inacia now. So I would love to leave the floor to Inacia and all of our respected lecturers from the University of Essex. Inacia, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sila. This is a 10-year-old little cup that our students managed to hold for a little while, for a few minutes, just to take pictures, not to take home. Anyway, we have winners, and I would like my colleagues also to announce their winners. This year we had, you mentioned resilience, most of the speakers mentioned resilience, and yes, indeed, we had a very, very difficult text, was very technical, was about plumbing and central heatings and lots of technical stuff. So in my opinion, the ones who stayed on and the ones who handed in their translations are the winners. So there are very, especially for the Italian team, very minor differences. So both teams were absolutely winners because they committed to delivering a publishable quality text, and they managed to do so. So I'll start with in alphabetical order. Some of our colleagues are attending online and others had other commitments, so they cannot be here. So definitely for the Arabic team, we know who the winners are. Sarah Bouliem and Ahmad Al-Muhammad and Mohammed Al-Ushban. Do you want to come here and hold?
I'll go on your side.
It's for you. You hold it. Yeah. Well done. Well done. Thank you. This is for you, and this is for you and Sarah. You can give it to Sarah.
Okay. Thank you.
We will leave this here now. Thank you. If you just don't go just yet.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Something to take with you that you remember about our university. I have something for.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you very much. Antonia, we have the winners for Chinese, and I really need you to read the names.
This one we have two teams. Incidentally, one of them was doing traditional Chinese, and the other one was doing simplified Chinese. And Emma and I had a very, very hard time deciding which one was the winner. So at the end, just by a little, very small margin, the winners are the traditional Chinese team, Wu Fanxuan, Xiao Tingyun, Wang Jiabao, Chen Liangyu, and Su Qiuting. Well done. Yeah. Here. And this is
I don't like it.
and this is the beautiful. Yes.
Can I get him a photo as well? And this video? And, yeah. Smile. Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
No, but yeah, birds.
Oh, yes, the birds. Yeah.
The cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's the turn for the French team winners, and we have Dunia announcing the winners. Okay. Can you let Dunia? Yeah.
So there were two French teams, and they definitely showed a lot of resilience and did a fantastic job. Even doing lots of research, even asking some specialists in the field, including some relatives, and it was very difficult to decide between the two teams because they both produce very professional translations. But one translation read a bit better and was a bit more precise, and that's a translation of Team 2, which is Stephanie, Oli, Lily.
Okay.
Lovely.
Okay. So we're trying to be as quick as we can, but we have a few languages. So the next team is the German team, and we have Claudia here to announce the winners.
Right. For the German team, we only had one team, but I must say that they did an amazing job and very, very thorough, very professional. And what I was impressed about especially was that they were very aware of their, let's say, their limitations. So really knowing well what they can do and what they cannot do, and then asking for help, for clarification. I think that makes a very good translator. And then the outcome was excellent. So the team is Erin Bosley, Daniel Goddard, and Stephanie. The others, you're representing. I'm representing.
Okay, it's now the turn of the Italian team. There were two teams, both BA and MA students together. They worked really hard. they consulted the writer of the source text a few times over, some ambiguities, and they made sure that they decoded the text very well. And I think the winning team is the one that produced a text that is a little bit, it's slightly, better readable and more consistent than the other. In terms of errors or in terms of kudos, I think they are really tied. They're both wonderful teams. So I have to announce a winning team, although for me they're both winning teams. So we have Matilde Trucco, Sakshi Singh, and Grace Paradis. So you hold it up. There'll be Bye. Thank you. So the final team is the Spanish team, and the same applies to Spanish. All the things that we said, the resilience, the commitment to delivering a wonderful and error-free translation, but also the most meaningful translation. So we have Valentina Pacino, Beryl Marquez, yeah, Noelia Gutierrez, and Farah Bornon. So you, yeah, and you're not Valentina, and Pero, yeah. Okay. Okay, that brings us to, thank you. Sorry, we are trying to do as quick as possible. So, the audience online won't be too, we don't have to wait so long. No, I don't have, no, there was no Portuguese. I don't think that we had any Portuguese this year. Okay, so that's all for the winning teams. And the floor goes back to you, Sila.
Congratulations to all the winning teams. I know that the text this year was a difficult one, and it was very technical and very niche. So for me, you are all winners for taking part in it and taking this challenge, because this year it was truly a challenge. I know that. So congratulations to all of you. And I see Pelin Shulha here. So I will be slowly leaving the floor to her. She is the Associate Professor Doctor from 9 Eylül University. And it's the 6th year of 9 Eylül University with us in Turkey. And we had a Turkish translation going on there with several teams. I think 10 or 11 teams participated. So I will be leaving the floor to you, Hocam, to announce the winners.
Thank you, Sıla. Dear colleagues and dear students, I want to thank the previous speakers for their encouraging presentations. And I also want to thank TTC for their organization of this wonderful event, and also to all students who took part in this competition. I'm very pleased to announce the names of the winners of this year's challenge. The winner from 9 Eylül University is Group 5, and the names are Zeynep Topçugil, Cansun Coşkun, Ergin Yalçın, and Baran Kamacı. Congratulations to all students and hope to see you again next year. Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone. I know that the decision process must be a very difficult one with all the participating teams submitting very good translations. So thank you so much as well, Hocam, for taking the time to evaluate those translations too. And congratulations to Team 5 for their excellent translations. Okay. Next in line is Ege University, but unfortunately, Assistant Professor Ahuselin Erkulyacı cannot be joining us today because of different preoccupations. So I will be happy to announce the winners from Ege University. Since she cannot be here with us today. So again, Ege University had around 10, 11 participating teams. And the winner from Ege University after long hours of evaluation is Team 8, which would be Afranur Kulaksız, Seda Bozkurt, Zeynep Hızarcı, Edanur Başbelen. So congratulations to all 4 of you guys. And thank you for participating in our challenge. And although we have previously very subtly talked with Levent about it, we actually do have a great speaker who would like to award a quote-unquote life-changing workshop to the winning teams. So I will be in touch with the winners for that opportunity because I really believe it will be a life-changing event for you all. And that will be a nice award, I believe. So we will be in touch with the winners as well as all the participants for future events. And back to you, Levent.
Sorry. Hi guys, well, congratulations to everyone taking part. As many of us said earlier, everyone took part is a winner. It's a great experience. And what I was going to say, we completed a 10-year. Nasya, again, to lecturers, really thank you very much for your extra efforts and look forward to many years to come.
I think we should do this after 10 years. Very, very proud of this. It's a great opportunity for our students. We made them suffer this year. They really suffered a lot. But, you know, I think they learned a lot. So that's what we want.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you again.
No, thank you. It's really exciting and it's really energizing to see that sort of ambition and interest.
Yeah. Thank you for all of our participants, students, and all our speakers.
For this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll send our speakers our thanks. It's been really educational and very inspiring. So Sıla, yes, we must not forget about them.
Yes.
Of course. We will be in touch with all of them as well. And also, like I said, the winners. And we will be in touch with participants for any future events too. And please stay in touch and keep an eye on our social media accounts to be up to date with our latest events and adventures, let's say. And hoping to be seeing you all in the 11th year.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Sıla. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you, everyone.
You did a really good, great job.
Pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye.